too early to call it a Duck dynasty, but it was certainly Duck domination at the Rose Bowl. Number 2 Oregon halting Florida State's 29-game win streak in convincing fashion, 59-20. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Pasadena. Bonnie Bernstein alongside Pete Fiutak and a very depressed Bryant McFadden, of course, the former great Knowles cornerback. But it's okay since you didn't play.
He's still great. It's okay.
Let me just be the master of the obvious here, guys. 5 turnovers for Florida State. Dalvin Cook, who's been sensational all year, had 2 of them. Jameis Winston, interception, lost fumble. Everything seemed to go wrong.
Underestimated that lost fumble was a little bit more dramatic than
well,
that.
He slipped and he fell, and then Tony Washington grabbed it, and the big man took it to the house. I guess my question is, why?
Well, you had one team that was, in the right area of the football field when all these turnovers are happening. When you're playing good on good, and that's what we're seeing now in the postseason, you can't afford to allow these good teams to have an opportunity of capitalizing on your mistakes. And at the appointed time, the game was still within. It was a competitive football game. You talk about after halftime, Florida State driving the football field. They weren't able to stop Florida State. Florida State stopped themselves. And whenever you give Oregon this explosive offenses, these type of turnovers, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, every turnover they scored 7 points.
Instantly.
And
I never like to get into really the emotion as much as the X's and O's of things, but you could kind of see it. We talked about it all week. Florida State was businesslike. They were here. They've done this before. They just wanted to get to Dallas. They got to this point. Oregon, you could see them moving around. They were just a little more fired up. And even after the big plays, Florida State didn't look all that jacked up. And it just seemed like Florida State was never quite there, never quite in it.
And really, for as big as that storyline was of Oregon not having Ifo Ekpe-Olumu, Troy Hill did a phenomenal job on Rashad Green, and we barely heard Green's name called game long. Let's talk about Oregon's offense. We obviously knew coming in what Mariota was capable of doing, and another 300-yard passing day for him. But, when Devin Allen, their number 2 receiver, went down early in the game, that could have really taken its toll on the Ducks. How critical was it that so many young guys, so many guys we hadn't heard so much about during the season, stepped up?
It shows you what Oregon is. It's the system. I mean, we joke around about it, and I always give Oregon a hard time for being too gimmicky and too quirky. But it works. I mean, when you've got guys with so much speed, they just went to the other guys, went to their backs, relied on their offensive line in key moments. And again, turnovers. Like you said, this was a game. Florida State moved the ball. They worked for over 520 or for 528 yards, and they just kept making mistakes. So Florida State moved on them, but when they made the mistakes, Oregon, bam, score. Florida State couldn't respond from it.
And Marcus might have found a new BFF in Darren Carrington. He had 2 outstanding touchdowns today.
Carrington really started emerging in the Pac-12 championship. He had 7 catches then, a career day for him today, and also a career day for Evan Bayless, the tight end who had 8 catches coming in today and finished the day with 6. Thomas Tyner, too. He was supposed to be the primary running back coming into the season. Obviously, Freeman took that role, but 120 yards, 2 touchdowns for him.
You put the 3 of us in this offense, and we're getting 7 catches for $120.
They're all a product of the system,
Everybody
right?
gets involved. Everyone has fun in this attack.
Well, you know what? At the end of the day, 59 points, more points than any team has scored in the Rose Bowl. That is a record, and with that, Oregon is heading to the national championship. Bryant, Pete, as always, good to hang with you. We'll see y'all in Dallas.